we had to make everything just exactly perfect. So it took us a few extra minutes. What's up, guys?
How's
It
it
is
going?
your favorite After Fish after show. And I am the Great Went. We have Jack, Fansets, we have Bandino, and we have Bryce, Guy Forget Ghost. And thanks for tuning into another episode. If you haven't, please go like, comment, subscribe, get on any of our content, give us a follow on Twitter, and welcome everybody. We had a heater in the Great Northwest, in the Great White North tonight. Because it was the Great White North, it was a heater. And we opened up with Sigma, which is the 10th appearance this year, tied with another song that we'll get to. And I'm going to throw it to you, Jack. Micro Jam, what you got?
Yeah, I think that Fish took off tonight, eh? They really,
Nice.
did what they
We're all supposed to all talk Canadian. I forgot.
Well, I can talk Canadian all night. I'm from Canada.
Hometown show. Hometown.
I of all the shows that they played up in the north, I would say that is in the top four. You know, I think that they did what they do, which is come out, strong. They make everybody smile. They diddled around a little bit here and there, and then they left everybody smiling. In the grand scheme of things, they did some really good things. I don't think it was like I'm going to listen to this show 100 times over the course of my lifetime, but
middle of the pack Sigma there at 11 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we ended up with an even shorter Blaze On Bandino. Where are you at on the Blaze On?
Well, I was going to ask, you said there was this is in the top 4 of shows in Canada. How many times did they play in Canada? 4 times?
No, they played.
I'm just kidding. It can't be that many, though.
It's like 8
8
in Toronto.
Okay. So it's in the top 50%, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
They hit like 92, 93 or something up there the first time.
Yeah, they came like 92, 93, 94, 96, and then 99, 2000, 2013, 2019, and this year.
This year.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I wasn't counting. I think that's 8.
I mean, Sigma Oasis has been... I really like that song, and there's been a lot of good jams from it. I feel like it had some potential, and then it kind of fizzled maybe a little bit. I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of fizzling in the show. Like there was some promise, and then some fizzle, and I don't know. Blaze On. I don't know. I prefer it to be open ended, but 2018 had some pretty solid Rager Type 1 versions of Blaze On, but since then, I kind of feel the same way about Sand as I would the Blaze On. That's been
reduced.
Yeah, if it's just a regular Type 1, if it's just a regular rock peak and it's over. Yeah.
Right. Yep. What do you do with the Blaze On, Bryce?
Yeah, what I noticed about, I noted on both of them just that they were pretty standard, basic, straightforward. I'd say standard lengths for both of them. Sigma's? Did you say it was the 10th? I thought it was the 9th.
Maybe it was the 9th.
Yeah, I think it's the 9th.
Count.
Yeah, starting in Mexico, and then tonight will be the 9th, and then Blaze On was 7th.
Yeah.
What I think is interesting about both of these is people when they'll ask me questions about pick fives or set lists and times and stuff like that. I get to doing it so much and reviewing the numbers, and I'm like a data guy in real life, so to speak. So when I'm doing that and then, looking at trends, I think both of these, I was going to use them as examples because they stood out. Listen to their gaps. So Sigma starting so it was 9th of the year, starting in Mexico, right? And so it was only a 2-show gap since last one in AC.
Right.
Before that, it went 4, 5, 6, 3, 5, 4, 4, 2. And then Blaze On was gap of 4 this time, and the last whatever it is 7, it was 3, 2, 8, 5, 6, 6, 4. So but you see on both of them it's 3 to 6 or 4 to 5, and you could just almost bank on it with certain songs like that anymore. So
they're going to do both of them at Dick's.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
For the next game of Fingo there.
Yeah. There you go.
They might be slowly overreacting to the no repeats thing, like a little pendulum,
I fear they're falling into Grateful Dead territory, and soon we're gonna have drums in space every night.
Yeah.
I'm surprised how many times disease. I'm surprised how many times disease has been played.
Yeah, I mean, you said that.
I forgot about that song for the most part.
Yeah, you said that when I made a joke earlier about play all the hits tonight, and you said, we're gonna have a fun one tonight. And you're right. It was like, it's like what, 9th, 7th, 4th, 2nd, 4th, 2nd, 6th, 9th. There's a lot of high numbers. 3rd, 7th, debut, 2nd, 5th, 4th, 6th, 2nd.
What debuted? Wombat?
Say what?
Wombat is what debuted this year.
No, actually, the debut was.
Was that the first Wombat of this?
No,
Definitely very long. Right, the last one was Halloween.
Yeah, and so. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, sorry, Death Don't Hurt Very Long tonight was played in the key of G instead of key of A flat. I don't know if it really. I thought something sounded off, and then I grabbed my guitar and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, no, that's G. It's normally A flat. I don't know how many Phish songs are in A flat. Probably not a lot, but that's one of them.
That's interesting because I had made notes that I thought it sounded different.
It's just such a simple groove tune. It was like, why have that awkward like last minute key
Maybe
change,
that's
right?
the key they were in out of
it was
disease,
the key they were in. It was like we might as well. I mean,
everybody loves G.
But key changes can really actually change even by a half step or a whole step can really change the sound or the feel of the song.
Oh, definitely.
Especially
touch on what you were saying about them playing the hits. My personal feeling after the last two shows in Toronto, which are relatively rare, somewhat like on average, 9 years.
Right.
In 2013 and in 2019, both of those shows were like the hits. It's almost like they come north of the border and they're like, we gotta make all these people happy and play everything they know. Like pull out a bouncing around the room in the middle of the second set. Like that's what these people want.
Kind of feels like it would be a Bonnaroo set or something. It would be like how they would approach a Toronto show.
Similar, yes.
And it's gotta be weird. I mean, I guess it isn't that much of a hassle, but you're going into another country, so you got to do the whole passport thing, and obviously they didn't do a show the night before. It's only one this week.
Yeah.
Because
why don't they do two in Toronto? I feel like it would make more sense to do at least two. You're gonna go through all that customs with all your gear and everything, and
they might be taking into consideration a lot of the people coming up from Buffalo and out from Detroit, who are maybe just going back right after the show. I don't know. Right. It's a pretty close drive to Buffalo.
Right. So then we got Steam. We went totally off the rails. We got Steam, and Steam, it has a nice little jam. I mean, I think my favorite Steam this tour was the one with the stash in the middle of it, just because it was fun. Bandino, what you got on the Steam?
Wait, what did you say? The Steam this year that had what stash in the middle of it?
Yeah, it had a stash in the middle of it.
What show are you talking about?
Maybe Mansfield.
It's either this was the 4th. It's South Carolina, Philly, Raleigh, and tonight. So
it was in Raleigh.
So it was in Raleigh.
Yeah.
Raleigh, probably. Yep.
The last stash?
Yeah. No, the last stash I think was AC.
Here's my thing about stash is that I thought it went to a nice little major jam for a while, which they've been doing a lot lately. But I feel like they do the last couple times that they've done a peak, like the peak has been the type 2 part, and then they just kind of go back to the closing of stash and kind of whimper out. But I feel like a great stash has like that minor key, like real great peak at the end, But
exactly,
I guess that probably leaves out every stash since the last 20 years.
You were right about the
very
Steam.
Nice.
You were right about Steam. It was Raleigh that had the sandwich, so I just looked it up. So I thought it was interesting.
Surprised. They always play Steam at Merriweather. It seems like I was surprised when they played at Raleigh.
Yeah, and then we had the hot topic of the year at the end of the Steam. There was the do we or don't we want them returning to choruses or wow. Thanks, Ocelot. returning to the main awkwardly, even when it's needed. God, Ocelot is just being a dick, like he
Look
is.
at my butt. Look at my butt.
So yeah, he just walks in front. He's like, hey, look at this. But yeah, no, we've been talking about all year on Twitter was like, Trey, you don't have to keep coming back to the awkward back end. And on Steam, it was just completely awkward when they came back.
It was a train wreck.
So,
It certainly
was.
was.
Steam should always be just an open-ended tune.
Exactly.
Right.
Like why
Just
run it
a lot of
with
Phish tunes, but yeah.
Yep.
Just let it go. And then we got My Sweet One, which, like I said, if you blinked, you'd miss it. I'm a fan. It's my ringtone for my oldest kid. So when I hear My Sweet One, I always think of my kid. I'm like, where is she?
Yep.
It's nice.
And then we went to Theme, which had some meat on it. It was, you know, it had like echoes of a 1.0 theme.
Yeah, it was nice.
I think Theme should always jam.
It was like uplifting. It like, you know, was kind of pulling the crowd right back up, and not that they went really down, but like it was a good feeling theme, you know, like it was like joy inspiring.
Yep. Yeah, I had it 14 minutes, and that's what I put like around 5. It seemed like it settled into a groove, and then like 7 to the end, I just noted was a really nice melodic theme jam, and that made it about 2 or 3 minutes longer than usual. So
always seemed like such an odd jam vehicle for me, because if you listen to the album cut, it's very structured. It is what it is on the album, you know, and it doesn't sound like it has those places.
But you know, the Philly version from like, was it February 2003 is one of my favorite 2.0
versions.
Yeah.
What was that?
I loved when we could immediately tell that they were like ditching the main chord progression. And I loved when it was a pretty good jam. I mean, I feel like it lagged a little bit, you know. I don't know.
Right.
There's been kind of like good moments and then a little bit of fizzle and good moments, and then, you know.
You just hope they pick it back up for those few moments.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we got Wombat, which, I don't know, people love to hear Wombat. It's huge. And I don't know, I'm kind of burnt out on it. It is what it is. It's goofy and fun.
Yeah.
I don't dislike Wombat. I think there's been a few great Wombats, you know, a couple, right?
For sure.
Yep. I saw that one at Dayton. That Dayton one was fantastic, and I got spoiled by that. So when you hear it, you start thinking, is that going to happen again? And yeah, no. So I had it at like 7 minutes, and I even noted, tried to find a jam around 5 minutes. Trey introduced the new repeating rhythm, but no takers. But I also put that both Theme and Wombat were broke out at Deer Creek first, which was interesting. Theme got played a few times between then and now. Wombat hadn't been played since then. And then the same thing was true later of 20 years later. It was also introduced at Deer Creek, hadn't been played since, and then played tonight. So
you were waiting for that 20 years later.
I won the bingo. Can you tell us a little bit about the bingo? We'll take a left turn.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I won the bingo.
I've been playing Fingo with a group of friends for, I think, since like Dick's 2011, maybe 2012. We used to just like on the little, you know, notepads in the hotels, right, make our little boards and play for some money.
You said what Fingo?
Yeah, Fingo. We basically
I have no idea what that is.
It's a bingo card. But we fill it out with Phish songs. Mm-hmm. So whoever gets a line first.
P-H-I. Okay.
Yeah, Fingo. Yeah. And, you know, it just like adds a little spice to sitting on the couch. Like you're all of a sudden you're like rooting for a song to come. And
I think I got 3 or 4 the first night of AC, the first night I did it. And then it took the night to get to 20 years later.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Fansets is running a Fingo because we're kind of... Everybody who wins gets entered into a raffle where we're going to be giving away a whitelist spot for when we mint our NFTs. I don't know if you guys are into NFTs at all, but we're basically creating a collection of every single set that Phish has ever played on like an image of a J card. Each one is going to be completely unique, have like its own attributes. The cases are going to be different. The J cards are going to be worn and torn. There's going to be little doodles and drawings and all these different things in each one for every single set. So it's kind of like a new collectible for the next
There's
wave.
a lot of sets there.
Yeah, we're minting over 3,000.
A lot of sets, and there have been a lot of sands this tour. Now, was this number 10, or am I wrong on that too?
Who's counting?
I had 9 of that too.
Nine.
But let me look it up again.
So they're both 9 then, and I just can't count. I don't have to count. I only have to know how to multiply by 5%. And I got that. I nailed that.
Tonight would have been the 9. Yep.
Yep. Very nice. And it was sand, and I guess they did the huge sand up front, and now they've been playing it all the time, and none of them live up to the 25-minute one.
Yep.
No. They've been basically using sand as kind of a throwaway, like a set closer. I don't know.
Right.
Seems to me. I mean, it's always a little bit. Although the version of Merriweather, I thought was, it was a little more creative than your standard, just like 10-minute, like.
Right. It had a little extra meat.
I feel like, I don't mind a sand being like type 1, but I feel like they should, like a wolf. It's like a Wolfman's. They should at least like explore something cool for like 4 or 5, 6 minutes before they just do your standard like peeking out. I don't know.
Wolfman's a perfect correlation. I agree.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The sand
they
gaps.
play like Stash and Sand every time they're in Toronto. I might be wrong about that, but it just seems like Stash is played every time they're in Toronto for whatever reason. Maybe they know somebody in Toronto who really likes that song and they're doing them a favor.
The composed part of Stash was a little awkward there for a minute, but like 100 times better than what was that version that was a complete train wreck?
The one in the spring.
No, from this tour, like they were playing Haley's Comet, and then Trace tried to start Stash, and it was like, it was the most.
Is that in Philly? That might have been in Philly.
Yes, it was like the most botched version of Stash I've ever heard. The jam was pretty good, but like the actual song part, it was like.
Right. My issue is it all kind of runs together, because I've watched every stream, and I'm like, when did they do that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Right.
I hate when that happens. All right,
that was Philly.
It was Philly. There you go. So I'm gonna do a set break read here, and then we're gonna go and dive into the second set, which has a little more meat on the bone. We've partnered with Osiris. They're on osirispod.com, or you can catch them on YouTube at the Osiris channel. Every day at 1:00, they do a recap show also. Tomorrow they have Scotty King, who I believe lives in the Great White North. So you always want to have a Canadian on these Toronto shows. And Malcolm Howard, who's a friend of Wook Plus and part of Free, which is Fans for Racial Equity, who our friend Fam is doing work with. And they're doing great things over there, so check them out. Tomorrow night, Friday night, the After Phish after show is going to be back with My Phish DJ and Hee-Haw. Mike.
Hee-Haw.
Mike Lowe.
Yes, Mike Lowe.
Mike's the man.
Yes, Mike is the man. That should be.
We're both trumpet players out in the DC area.
Oh, nice. Do you play out? Do you have a band?
I don't. Mike's a little more professional than I am. We're both music teachers, but I think he gigs a lot more than I do. I play in a big band from time to time, but I mostly.
Do you make your kids listen to Phish?
Teaching is my main focus. Oh yeah.
We're gonna play Divided Sky.
For my daughter today, I was playing. I was like, what are the most complicated tracks on Rift and Pick Your Nectar? So, and then this is a tangent, but when was the last time Phish played Eliza? By the way, because I was just listening to Pick Your Nectar's video, and I was like, forgot about Eliza.
91 or 92, like when the album came out, they played it.
Beautiful song. Like, why? That should be a bust.
Isn't it an acoustic guitar on the album?
Yeah, but I mean.
That's probably why Trey thinks maybe he could do
it
solo.
Bliss. It would be like how they played Bliss, right. Or like I mean,
when he does one of these solo acoustic
92.
shows, he could do it though.
It's 1992, May 14th, 92, Port Chester, New York, and
that's
it's
the last time.
Yeah,
Is that the only
1,200
time?
1295 gaps. So no, it's been played like a while, quite a bit between 90 and 92. So 22 times.
Right. Once the album came out, they stopped playing
When
it
did
'cause the album came
Picture
out.
Nectar come out? 92 or was it
Yeah,
91?
On my birthday, on my 21st birthday, it came out.
92.
Yes, February 18th, 92. Yep.
But so it must have been written way before that then. Okay.
Yes, it kicked around. Like Tweezer started popping up in 1990, and it didn't come out. Till
Really?
the
I thought
album.
90. I thought 91 was the first Tweezer, but
I think I saw one at the Bayou in 90, and then I saw one the next night up in Ardmore or whatever that spot was, the Chestnut Cabaret or something.
oh,
They
man.
were short. They were little 7-minute ones. Unlike the sample tonight that was 12 minutes.
Yep.
I love the sample. It got a little evil.
Yep. First one since Baker's Dozen, they extended, right? Non-standard and dropped into kind of type 2.
The one
improv
didn't
set.
they,
No. The one from
they put a little mustard on one of them, I think, this
Is
year.
there another one? Yeah, you're
no,
right.
not just the mustard. They went way type 2 for like almost 18 minutes, or was it 15?
You're right.
What show was that?
Yeah,
It was
hang on. How am I forgetting that?
was
Was
it
it
one of the
Charleston?
Bethel shows?
Charleston
This
or
year.
Bethel?
Yeah, that's the one where they even went a little type 2 on Golgi and everybody. And I still don't know what the fuck
Okay,
happened.
so you're right. Yeah. It was Dolce and then Sample. You're right.
Yeah, and that sample's actually a really, really cool jam. And
Yeah.
they go back into sample, which I feel like should always be done. I feel like sample, you can't just leave. I mean, you
Right,
can't.
it needs attending.
I feel like you got to end sample. Otherwise, it's a little blasphemous or whatever. 'Cause
Mhm.
I do love sample's one of my favorite songs, like on its own.
Jesus.
Love it. And then I feel like the person who pulled the ripcord tonight was Mike. When he started banging the bass, he's like, "We're doing Down with Disease tonight," which I
Really?
feel like they just did it recently. I
I
feel like
thought it was Trey. I thought it was Trey who was like disease. I don't know.
Yeah. Disease was
It felt to me
AC.
like Mike didn't want to play disease, but who knows?
it was an AC they played it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but then they played it recently before that too.
And none of them have lived up to Bethel
No, they have not.
or Hartford. Was it Hartford?
no,
It was Hartford, right?
no, Bangor.
Banger. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's the banger disease.
The banger disease.
The
Yeah,
banger
I hate
disease.
when that happens.
You all talking about monkeypox?
Yes,
No.
monkeypox at the fish orgy at Dick's.
Yeah, no.
Dude, that is very interesting.
Oh, you guys have never been to a
Enjoying
fish
that
orgy at
topic.
Dick's?
Hey, just so you know, that sample really was only 1439, so it didn't get to
Right.
18, but it did.
Sorry,
have-
but still, I mean,
It had some meat,
How
yeah.
long was the Baker's Dozen? I bet it was the longest sample ever.
Gosh, what was that? The
So
Baker's
awesome to have a
Dozen-
stat.
Yes, it
Matt
is.
Master with us. Because that would never be
Because
me.
we look like amateurs most of the time.
Dude,
we
Kevin,
being me.
your first fish show was in the 90?
In '89 at the 8x10.
I didn't know that, man.
There were like 40 people there. I set my beer on the stage, went and took a piss, picked it back up off the stage right in front of Trey.
I knew
Only
you
time
were,
I've
you
ever
were a
seen-
seasoned vet. I didn't know you were that seasoned.
They had a riser that the Fish's drums were on. It's the only time I saw them that the three were in front and Fish was in back on a riser with his
Oh my, that's-
drums.
Like the
Didn't they have
Beatles.
that- Didn't they have that set up at some point?
My
This
first
was
show was
81.
98.
You know?
I'm totally noobing out. You guys are probably all beat
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, the
I
sample.
Didn't
only
they
saw
change-
2 1.0 shows. That's how noob I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
How they
My mom was strict, and yeah, I listened to a lot of shows, but yeah, wasn't until
What were you
2.0
saying,
that I started going to a lot more shows.
What was the Baker Dozen sample?
Oh, sorry, it was 10 minutes 22 seconds.
So we've
Longest
got
sample
two
ever?
that are longer since then, because tonight was
Or
12.
no, tonight.
Tonight was 14.
Times it was 12. Let me look at what they have it at. I had
So
it as 12.
Bethel's the longest sample of all time.
Nice.
That's actually a really good jam. I thought tonight's jam was pretty cool, but like I felt like I don't know. At some point, like it lost its potential. I don't know.
like they ended up and down with disease too early. It was
Yeah.
premature
It was
disease.
12:36. Yeah,
12:36.
We still talking about monkeypox?
Yes. And then it landed in Death Don't Hurt Very Long, very short, but last time that popped out was Halloween last year, and I'm a fan. I think it's a little weird. I was wondering if they do it because it says Death Don't Hurt Very Long and all the people died with COVID, but they busted it out at Halloween, and now it's back again.
I do really like the song. I feel like it should be done slower and a little creepier and more drawn out. I feel like
I'm surprised they haven't played it. Like I've been putting it on my Fingo card all summer, and like was expecting it to come out way earlier than this.
I actually think it's some of the best new lyrics of any Phish song.
Yeah,
it's equally
and Whack
totally whimsical, but then kind of like
where's that
profound at the same time.
Yeah, Whack Tube as well.
Whack
right?
Tube, yes, exactly.
Right.
Where is it?
I thought the same thing. So I did make a note that it's funny you said that about Death Don't Hurt Very Long, because I was noting the last time they played was Halloween. I put, ironically, during the pandemic super spreader that everyone said.
Right.
Also played in G instead of A flat.
Yeah.
Just remember that.
And that's interesting. It did sound
probably
different.
the first version played in the wrong tuning.
Yep. Well, and they transitioned into it out of disease. So, like you said before earlier in the broadcast, I think you're right that it had a disease tone to it. So that led to that shift in key.
Because if you listen to the 2018 Madison Square Garden tweezer that goes into Death Don't Hurt Very Long and back, because tweezer's an A, as a lot of guitar songs are, and then you hear them like the jams where you hear them just awkwardly drop down a half step, and that's A flat, and then.
That's got to be hard. When we talked to Matt Bush, he was talking about he'd write set lists sometimes, and Weir would say to him, "Dude, we can't do that. They're in two different keys. We can't get from that song to that other song, So, and that was the first time I became aware of that, because it all sounds the same to me. They don't make the key I sing in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not a music teacher.
So then we got 20 years later, which, as we said earlier, won me the Fingo. And Bandino, I know that you and I talked a little bit about it. You're not a big fan. I can take or leave it.
I mean, it's not a terrible song. It's definitely not a good song. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's that one version from Reading. I feel like there probably has never been another. Well, no, maybe.
The one at Camden in 19 was okay.
Those are the only two times that song has ever been good.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but if I'm wrong, there's maybe 3 at most. But
yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think what's interesting about it is just that it has such a unique guitar lead that you would think it would lend itself to being a really good dirty jam, transition song. And it's just really never become that. But what I noted tonight that I thought was interesting was that it did sound different than normal, though, too. It's usually that heavy riff lead, but it just seemed like it was more full band melodic.
I did think they were headed towards something for a minute. I thought, hey, maybe they're gonna go in a cool path with this. But then whatever happened later.
Yep.
Light. They ended up in light.
Yeah.
Yep, light.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's the Tolle rock we got into.
I told Kev, I'm like, this is gonna be another light party time. Watch.
Yeah, it seemed like at this point they were like searching
They always
a
kind
little
of want
bit.
to, even if they
They
don't.
were just like looking for something that was going to work,
I think so.
and jumping around a little bit, and it never really hit.
That's been a problem in the fourth quarter and the second half of the second set for the last few shows. Maybe not Sunday night AC, but the other two.
There's been one great fourth quarter of this entire tour, to be honest with you.
And what would that be?
Prove me wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe Sunday at AC, but it was a greatest hits set, like we've been.
No,
I agree with you, because to me that's a downer sometimes when they start out strong with 3 or 4 really good second set songs that are all 14 to 20 or so, and you feel like you have a vibe, and then to me it's not even the come down songs. Like I'm fine with like a Mountains in the Mist or something like that just properly placed. Everyone wants it, and then
Billy Breeze.
They seem a little bit allergic to like some really great type 2 jamming in the fourth quarter of a show. It's just like I remember telling my friends in Merriweather because it was a great tweezer jam. I'm like, hey, watch. I'm like,
this is it.
It might have just been the last jam of the show, and I was like, I hope I'm wrong, but yeah. And I did really like this. I did really like actually all the Merriweather shows, even the like type 1 part seemed to have a little bit more,
The Lizards was fantastic. That was so perfect with the Lizards.
Yeah,
theme.
but
so we ended up in Bouncin', which is the greatest hit ever. It should have like propelled them to Spin Doctors, level of fame. But
I actually kind of liked that there was like the different introduction to it today. Like I was like,
they transitioned.
But it resulted out of kind of an awkward end to a jam. What was that again?
Light. Yeah, it was light.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they were creating, Mozart level music when they transitioned in, but it was just interesting that they segged into it. So
it was different.
I feel like there was never any. There was like some good jamming, but there was never any like nice extra mustard like peaks or like great, in the dance.
And I guess we can mention here that there is not going to be. There's not going to be a cool down song tonight because Trey called out for 2001.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm always happy. You can do 2001 every night. It's an instrumental. Absolutely. I don't get,
I totally agree. Like there has never been a 2001, whether it was 5 minutes or 15 minutes, that I did not enjoy. It really, like they should play that song every night, and they should play it for the entire second set.
There you go. All instrumental second set.
Like,
shut up and play your guitar.
Go for it. Like
it's a great kind of blank canvas for like a funk groove,
Yeah.
Yep.
But like, it's always great if you're there. But I feel like if you're webcasting, like I don't want to hear a 5-minute 2001. To me, that seems like you're. Tonight it seemed like, okay, how are we gonna fill a little? We'll throw a bone to the fans.
Let's vamp, right?
We're in Canada. We got to make everybody happy.
And then they throw them a second bone with Sneakin' Sally. They're like, all right, let the funk go.
Yeah, but it's like they were kind of. I mean, I'm never gonna argue about seeing those songs, but like we're talking about listening back on tape. I'm like, am I ever gonna listen back to that 2001?
They're hollow in comparison to other ones. I get what you're saying. It's like, yes, that's great, but it's not.
Yeah.
There.
And I'm so
playing hits.
Yeah. My second Phish show was like July 9th, 99 with the one Derek Trucks came off the encore and it was like
nice.
And it was like 22-minute, down or no, maybe a little shorter than the Memphis one, but like that was my first I didn't even know they played 2001 at the time.
Right.
And it was like this huge drawn out thing. And so every time I feel like Phish should have like jam referees. Well, there's that Dick's referee guy on Twitter.
Red card.
Like, I've always my friends and I, we always joke like Phish. They need like jam referees up there. Like if you're playing 2001 and you're about to end and you're at like the 7-minute mark, somebody needs to throw up like flags and be like, no.
Throw up a red card. Gotta keep going. Throw up a yellow warning.
Isn't that kind of like
what at least over 10 minutes? Like every.
Isn't that kind of like what the timekeeper used to be?
Right? ZZYZX.
He would stand up close to the
hilarious.
Stage with his.
Yeah, I feel like he was probably me in a different life because I would be out there and be like, nah. Let's
8:38. Come on, guys.
Yeah. That's interesting about 2001 though is you're right is like so it was what 6 minutes and I had about 5 minutes in or so. Trey transitioned to the dirty sounding tone. Like he was trying to get a riff going and then it just kind of abruptly stopped after that. But I was just going to agree with your point about like, it is nice being in a show, even if it can be a 6 or 7 minute one, if they roll the peaks really high and you get hit with the lights, like at Dick's, when they get it going, it is just a great song.
Better than a wingsuit, I mean,
right. We will be getting a 2001 at Dick's.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And we may not get a Sneakin' Sally that had the vocal jam. Apparently that was huge, according to a lot of people. And then we ended up in Free again.
Yeah, it was surprising, right?
Number 9
the song, man. I love the song. Don't fucking stab it over and over.
It's one of Phish's best songs. I mean,
it's almost like they're just like it's like a knee-jerk reaction. Like they forget what they're.
It's comfortable.
Like, yeah, exactly.
I don't have any problem with the repeats really. If they
So that would be
if they do a great job, I mean, it really doesn't matter. I
Yep.
actually dislike the no repeats, but I like a little bit of it in between. You know,
You dislike the
so
no
this is
repeats?
for
I
Sig-
don't like no repeats. No, I would. If I knew a tour was like 8 shows, it was no repeats, I would be upset.
I agree because I think sometimes it wipes things off.
Sometimes there's more focus on like not flubbing some certain songs because you gotta have a wider variety of things. I would rather hear some repeats with.
I really enjoy when they dig.
They're
deep.
just repeating a little bit more than you would have thought at this point.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem actually with repeats as long as you're building. Everyone is getting better. You're adding new places to it, and when you do a monster version like Sand, and then you keep repeating it, but you never fucking even get near there. Maybe shelve it a couple of those times so it
Like
can build
June
up.
95 Bowies,
Honestly,
tops the next.
Have they forgotten how to play
you-
Antelope? Like, I think there was a comment
forgotten how
on
to-
there that said that. Like,
Never
where's
forgot how to play the
Antelope?
songs. They've forgotten how to play
Right.
it.
It's
Like,
been 9 shows, since an Antelope.
Yeah, but you make a good point about the 3 that were the 9th of 2022 is Sigma, Sand, and Free. It was all the 9th version tonight. So, but I agree. So I think Sigma, I would agree with your logic. I think it's kind of gotten stale lately when there were some good ones there in the middle. And then Sand, like you said, seems to have gone downhill. But Free, I will say, has been kind of consistent. I mean, it just recently had the very large one. We got to hear it at Blossom or whatever. But each one has felt like they're building in that new play area that used to be the late 90s that
Right.
that they would get into. You know?
I call that I call the part that the Eminence front, because when they first did that song they didn't have that, and then it came in and I was like, it sounds like Eminence front, and somebody in like one of the old, not Reddit things, but one of the message boards was like, no,
That's interesting.
Probably my favorite Type 1 version of Free is the 2018 Dix version, which was the first thing they opened with after Curveball. And all my friends, we went to Curveball, and obviously that was like really depressing. And then the very first song they play is Free, and that version is one of my favorite. I mean, Trey's solo is like perfect, and they definitely go into an Eminence front phase to close it out. And everything's just perfect about it. It's not like it's very straight up Type 1, but it's just like so perfect. I listen to that version of Free all the time. But
And
So
Freeze
you
really found
actually-
its way into the second set.
and I did really like the AC version of Free because it started real weird. Like Mike was doing Dave's Energy Guide, and they got like they were being playful with it. Tonight was good, but it was kind of your standard like gradual build up.
Did you make it all the way to Curveball?
Dude, we got there like what was it, Wednesday night at like I don't know, like 7 p.m. Like we were there real early, and we were originally parked in Glen Close, even though we didn't have Glen Close. Then people were like, "Nah, you got to go," because we were there so early. There was people that weren't there to be like, "No, you can't come in here." So yeah, we were in Glen Close for a while, but then we went to the very closest campsite out, and we had like a bunch of people, and we had like the best campsite ever. We had like blow up L sofas and ottomans and like multiple tents. It was like this
Nice
festival playground. And then we get that. Then the message starts going around on texts and people's phone, and you start seeing this like spread of like tragic
Gloom.
gloom. It was the worst.
I bet.
It was the worst. It was the worst thing ever. We were just starting to feel so good. I mean, and like,
Was it as bad as having
it was
Lawn
such
Boy
a
open?
dagger at the time. What?
Was it as bad as having Lawn Boy open your encore?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, way worse. I like Lawn Boy, man. Come on.
Which, you know what? The other day I was listening to. I love my when I mow. That's one of my favorite times because I just pick like 5 or 6.
You cut your grass to Lawn Boy?
I do. Oh well, now I did the other day. I cut it to the.
If you have a big
Dozen.
lawn, it has to be the Baker's Dozen version, though, right?
Yeah. Oh my god, dude! It was like I listened to that again. I'm so in love with that jam. Like that is such a great freaking jam.
Do you think it's showed up again? Any pieces of it? Have you heard it again?
Good
I don't know. That's a good
The
question.
Baker's dozen long boy.
The tone of the jam, like
Yeah.
the riff.
I've never
His-
thought about it either. I might have to try to put an ear to that and then listen.
You guys don't want to talk to me about the Jam Filled Show. Trust me.
Well, and I'm trying to remember. It has, to me, I've always said that the riff in it that they start with is familiar, like a Marley tune or something. I can't remember what it is right now. I'm just
One Page plays on guitar.
it might be.
Yeah. Because that's how the jam starts, is him on the guitar.
Yeah. So maybe that is the familiarity that I'm hearing when I hear it. But oh my God, just every time when they launch into that, I was listening the other day. I'm like, why have I not been listening to this like every week? Probably because I wore it out for a while.
I think that jam is like apex Phish. Like they're just
They
were
feeling themselves.
Themselves like in that moment of like nothing can stop us. We can do anything.
Yep. And just real quick to circle all the way back to something you said at the beginning. Two things. One, I think they did do a pretty decent job of set listing this for, say, Canada, like you said.
Oh,
so
definitely.
The thing you have to be careful is placating it and being the same hits every time. Like you said, if it feels like you always hear Stash, always hear Sand, that can hurt. But what I was going to say was, when we were talking about the jams earlier in the tours and the no repeats, that's the thing that I wish they would have stuck more with that, in the spirit of like Leaves, right? When they played Leaves, and it was like we had that feeling at that point because of the improv they've been doing in other non-typical songs, that you had like this anticipation where they're just building in a new area because they just have those points that they're familiar with building in Ghost and in Tweezer and in Carini, and you know what I mean? They have the same ways of sliding in, some of the same mechanisms, some of the same riffs to start certain things. And
Soul Planet.
And that's how I felt about the Howling. Like after the Howling in Deer Creek, I really thought that they were going to use that song this summer to go places. And like
agreed.
They played it.
We got
twice,
it in Merriweather.
It's just another 2001, really. Although
maybe that's.
I thought the Merriweather version they finally nailed. Like they've been really sloppy with that intro part, except for maybe the Halloween version. But like, yeah, I thought they really nailed it. And the first like punch when that groove starts is really great in the Howling. Like whenever Mike plays on the bass, it's really pretty infectious little groove. But I mean, they've just been playing. They played for 5 minutes in Merriweather.
Yeah.
So
and they went into Santos. Hey,
now that Santos was 100 times better than tonight's Santos.
Yes.
That may have been the best Santos ever, the one we got in Merriweather. Would you?
Yeah, and it was in the right place, closing the set, not closing the encore.
The Merriweather shows in general, like his Alumni Blues solo and his Santos solo, and I mean like short, like Ragers are like just like
had a little extra on it.
Like really great shredding. If you listen to the Alumni Blues from Merriweather, it's 2 minutes, but it's just like pure hose shred blues from Trey, which I hadn't heard in
glimpses, right? Glimpses of the past.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's those glimpses there, and I'm an electric guitar guy, so that's my favorite stuff is usually where like it's spot on hose, raging hose, and that Santos was,
but it wasn't tonight.
No.
Yeah,
no,
it's just like cookie cutter,
was Fishman playing a bunch of weird sample shit too? That felt...
Something about Canada, I thought.
Yeah, there were some weird sample pads he was hitting tonight.
He had something new programmed in.
Yeah, and then at the end, Mike played the drill for like what seemed like 10 seconds, maybe. It's like two zzz, and then it was done.
Trey has been saying no. He got shorted the other night on the drum solo.
Did you see that?
I mean, on the drill solo, not drum solo, on the drill solo.
Seemed like he wasn't happy about that the other night.
Yeah, it wasn't. He likes popping that shit up.
I retweeted, you guys familiar with Lazy Lightning, right? So I retweeted he retweeted himself, and then I retweeted it. That he tweeted it early in 21, and his words said, "Santos quickly becoming the new character Zero. Don't kid yourself." And I was like, that's kind of true.
Just like Sigma Oasis is the new Fuego.
Yeah.
There you go. But I tell you what, they both serve the same purpose as the arena rock, big music, fucking closer. Everybody's up screaming, the white lights.
Yep.
It's a big rock and roll. That's what they're supposed to do, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Zero's a way better song than Santos, but I mean, they do rage. They both rage at the end.
They do both
Yep.
rage.
I've never been a Zero hater, you know, but also I wasn't seeing like a bunch of shows in '96 and '97, and
Right.
I
Exactly.
also like Bug. I think Bug's a beautiful song, but I also didn't see a bunch of shows in '99 and 2000.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right,
I saw the
guys.
first
Thank you
Bug.
for coming. Thank you for coming on. I'm gonna pull
Yeah,
us
man.
out and tune in Friday. We got Amanda and Hall on, and I want to thank all of you coming on. This was fantastic. Such a great fucking crew. Thank you so
Yeah, man.
much, and let's try it again sometime. I'm gonna play us out with
Go O's, man.
Thanks
Go
for having
O's.
us.
I love
Thanks.
the
Let's play Fingo again for Alpine.
They got rained
Yeah.
out tonight. It's probably only
Yeah, I'll be at Alpine, so have fun.